My name is Luke Shada. I'm a senior air safety investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board. I'm the investigator in charge of the Gulfstream G4 accident that occurred yesterday evening at about 9:40 local time at the Hanscom Airport. The accident occurred during takeoff from runway 11. There were 7 people on board. All persons were fatally injured. Before I go any further, on behalf of the NTSB, I'd like to extend our condolences to the family and friends of the victims of the accident. We're at the very beginning stages of the investigation. We're not going to speculate. We're not going to draw any conclusions. We're in the fact-finding stages of the investigation. We'll be gathering information about the pilots, their background, experience, type of experience, medical certifications, things along those lines. As far as the aircraft, we'll be reviewing the aircraft's maintenance history. We'll also be documenting the airplane both on-site here and off-site. We'll be looking at the aircraft systems and the aircraft structure. We'll also be gathering information like weather. We'll be looking for surveillance video, interviewing witnesses, and what we will do is we'll take the information, the factual information from those areas and other areas, and we'll put it into a comprehensive report which will be sent to the NTSB board in Washington, D.C., and they'll ultimately determine a probable cause. Now, the NTSB is an independent federal agency that's charged with investigating every civil aviation accident and select accidents in other transportation modes, and the sole purpose is to develop the facts, conditions, and circumstances and then make recommendations to prevent future accidents. As I said, we're at the very beginning stages of the investigation, so I do not have a lot of information. At this point, what we're focusing on is the victims are currently being removed from the aircraft. We're also looking for the aircraft flight recorders. It's our understanding that the aircraft was equipped with a flight data recorder and a cockpit voice recorder, so we're looking for those components right now. We'll also be documenting the scene with a focus initially on perishable information, things like tire marks, control positions. Those are items that we want to be able to capture now before anything gets moved and potentially disturbed. We are receiving excellent support from the folks here at the Hanscom Airport, also Mass Police, Bedford Police, several other local authorities, the FBI. They've been a big help helping us do our work. The aircraft itself is located about 2,000 feet from the end of the paved surface of runway 11. There was a significant post-crash fire. The aircraft actually entered, it went down an embankment and into a gully with water, and that's where it came to rest. So it's making the, yes, there were 2 flight crew members, 1 cabin crew member, and 4 passengers. Sure, it's November 121 Juliet Mike. It's Gulfstream 4, manufactured in 2000.
2 pilots, 1
cabin attendant, and then 4 passengers. Well, as I mentioned, most of it is consumed by fire, and there's fragmented portions also located in the gully.
Is the aircraft in one piece?
It's not entirely in one piece. It's fragmented and partially burned. One of the things that we'll be doing is making sure we have all, we'd like to say 4 corners of the aircraft and all components there, and that's something that we'll be looking to do.
How long do you think it will take to remove the victims from the aircraft?
It's an ongoing process, so it's going to take some time, but I think they're hopeful they'll be able to do it by the end of the day today. I've not heard that. I know they flew in here at about 3:30, 3:40, and the crew stayed with the aircraft, and they were departing when the accident occurred. They were en route to Atlantic City Airport.
How radio contact or chatter before the crash?
I've not had an opportunity to review any air traffic control information. That's something that we will be doing, but my understanding is that there wasn't any abnormal communication with the tower.
What was the call sign of that?
I just know the registration was 121 Juliet Mike. I don't know if they were using another call sign at this point.
Bird, deer, any animal like that played a role, even though it did not, wheels were not up?
Well, we don't want to speculate on what might or might not have played a role. Like I said, at this point, we just want to work on factual information.
Have you ruled out foul play?
We haven't ruled out anything, but there is no reason to suggest it's anything but an accident at this point.
From what you said, no indication right now that there was any kind of alert or from the cockpit to the tower prior to the crash.
A verbal.
There wasn't.
Correct.
Where the flight originated?
The flight originated from Atlantic City. Right.
There's been some reporting about fire prior to the crash. Can you tell us about that?
I mean, it's something that we'll certainly look into. I don't have any information on that at this point.
Do you know how much fuel the aircraft was carrying when it crashed?
I don't know how much fuel was on board. However, I can tell you that the aircraft did not receive fuel services while it was here.
So the tank was full.
Correct.
And is the capacity 7 individuals on board, or is it?
There were 7 individuals on board.
Is that
Three were
also on the
three.
plane?
No, that aircraft can hold more. I don't know the specific configuration of this particular aircraft, but it can hold more than 7
I
passengers.
know you said you're going to be looking into the history of the aircraft. Do you know how old this aircraft was, and at this point, had it had any previous incidents prior?
I don't know if there were any previous incidents. One of the things that you can do is go to the NTSB website and look it up that way. One thing I forgot to mention, as far as there'll be a preliminary report that'll be posted on the NTSB website in about 10 days. However, that preliminary report is just going to have some of the initial factual information that's been gathered so far.
Can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned the data recorder and then the flight, is it the cockpit voice recorder? What do those things record? What kind of information do they have?
The cockpit voice recorder will record conversations that occur in the cockpit, and the flight data recorder will record several parameters associated with the aircraft systems until we actually have the recorder and identify the specific model. I don't know how many parameters or what the specific recordings will be.
Is that like a black box?
That's exactly what it is.
When you saw the photos, just the big plumes of fire and smoke, is that unusual for this type of aircraft in this type of crash to see so much fire? Because I know you mentioned the heavy fire damage.
Well, as far as, I don't want to speak about usual, unusual. I mean, there was a fire, and the aircraft was carrying, jet fuel on board, that burned, and that's what consumed a large part of the aircraft.
I think someone asked this already, but did the plane ever get off the ground or no?
Our information from a witness is that the aircraft, he did not see the aircraft break ground. However, one of the things, if we have flight data recorder, we'll be able to look at that more closely also.
Did any of the fuselage actually submerged in water?
There might be part of it that's submerged, but most of it kind of spans across the gully. So you kind of have sort of part of the airplane on one side, and then some on the other. But I'm sure there's some portions also in the water.
So it would almost be bridging it with space underneath?
But there's no real space, because as the aircraft was consumed, it sort of collapsed on itself.
So there was one pilot on board?
There was two pilots and a cabin attendant.
How big is the debris field?
How big is the debris field? The debris field, well, the aircraft, as I mentioned, there are tire marks on the runway that extend about 2,000 feet from the end of the paved surface of the runway to the airplane. Now, there are portions of the landing gear that are in the debris field along that 2,000-foot stretch. But the majority of the aircraft appears to be confined in that gully, and it's very consistent with the dimensions of the airplane.
How wide is this gully?
The gully, I'm not sure. It's something we're surveying. We'll be able to tell you.
The pilot, can you tell us anything about how much experience they had?
I don't have that information at this time. That's something we'll be able to provide at another time.
Condition of the body?
That's something to ask the medical examiner.
And the Boston Medical Examiner will handle them?
The Boston Medical Examiner will process the victims, and then as far as releasing the names, that's something that the Middlesex District Attorney's Office will be doing.
Are the pilots local, or are they also from the Atlantic City, Philadelphia?
I don't have that information at this time, but I'll be able to have that. I'll be able to get it.
So no more identifications that you know of? No identifications have been made yet by the CCA?
I don't know what identifications have been made.
What's particularly unusual about this from your experience?
Again, we don't want to deal with usual, unusual. You know, at this point, we're just trying to gather as much factual information as we can about this accident without speculating or comparing to other accidents.
Do you know when the last crash was here?
The off-site location that you'll be looking at things that are recovered, fuselage, that happened at a hangar here or across Washington?
What I suspect will happen is there'll be an intermediate process where as the aircraft is removed from the gully, there'll be some examinations that take place here, and then we'll coordinate with the aircraft insurance company regarding what storage facilities that they're under contract with to secure the wreckage further. I'm sorry, your question was?
Oh, well, one question I have now. I don't know what that question is. Are the flights grounded here indefinitely, or how does that work?
Okay, after the accident occurred, the aircraft operations were shut down. It's my understanding now the second runway is open and the airport is operating with the use of that second runway.
And that opens today?
Correct.
And just to be clear, you're calling it a crash, and do you know what it crashed into, or can you just clarify?
Sure. I mean, as far as like when the aircraft departed the paved surface of the runway, it rolled into the grass. It struck a localizer antenna, which is part of an instrument landing system, and then it struck a fence. And then beyond the fence, there was the gully. I don't have the distances on that. That's something that's being done in the survey.
What is a localizer antenna?
It's part of an instrument landing system approach. Victims were in the aircraft, yes.
I'm sorry, the fence, so it did go through a fence line?
Yes, it was a chain link, like a chain link fence.
The witness you referenced, is that an airport employee?
Yes, it's someone at the airport.
And what else were they able to say about what they saw?
Basically, that they saw the aircraft not become airborne and that it departed the runway, and then they saw the fireball.
Did they see the fire beforehand or no?
No, they did not say that they saw fire beforehand.
Is there a video of the entire incident, sir?
Well, it's my understanding there are several potential sources of video at the airport, and that's what we're working on to figure out what sources of video are and what those videos may have captured. I know I have seen some video that shows the aircraft prior to takeoff, sort of just parked on the ramp area. But I haven't seen or been made aware yet of any video as far as the takeoff or the accident. But that's something that we'll be looking at.
Describe your reaction, not as an investigator, but just as a person to arriving at that scene, seeing the devastation, the aftermath of that fire, victims.
Well, again, I really just prefer to talk about just from a factual standpoint as far as the as far as the investigation is concerned.
What about the history? Have there been other crashes here at this airport recently? How recent?
I don't have that information, but that's something you'll be able to find out if you look at the NTSB website. You can do a search by location and airport, and you'll be able to find that.
And just to be clear, the pilots gave no indication to the tower that they were having any kind of problems?
That's my understanding. I have not heard the video. I have not heard the recordings yet, but that's what I was told.
Do you have any idea how much fuel actually spilled into the Shawshing River?
I don't know that. There was fuel that spilled, but I don't know. I know that the airport authority is working with a contractor to mitigate the fuel spill and clean the area up.
And how long did it take firefighters to extinguish the flames?
I don't know that. That's something we will find out.
One more question.
Does the river run through the gully, or is it separate entities?
There is the river runs. There's a body of water that's running through at the bottom. I don't know what the normal tidal level is for that. Okay.
Can we just get your full name?
Sure. It's Luke, L-U-K-E. Last name is Schada, S-C-H-I-A-D-A, and I'm a senior air safety investigator with the NTSB's Office of Aviation Safety.
Will we be doing another briefing today?
We're going to be out. It's hard to say because of the nature of the recovery of the aircraft, but we anticipate being out here several days. As far as the next briefing, we anticipate having a briefing tomorrow afternoon. If you follow the NTSB's Twitter feed, we'll be tweeting when the next briefing is.
No more updates today.
No more updates today, but tomorrow we'll have some.
As far as the roads that are all closed and police set up along the fences, is that going to continue through the investigation as long as you guys are here?
I suspect to some degree it will.
Any flight restrictions in place anymore, or no? Everything's sort of...
I don't know that. As I mentioned, that the airport was reopened. That one runway was reopened. The one runway's closed, so that's a restriction.
And are you based here, Boston?
I'm not. I'm based in New York.
What's the time frame